Hi, welcome to TheDoorTalks, where we very, very occasionally review films, even though that's what we started out doing. Today we are doing... We're going to spoil the movie for you, okay? So I'm going to say straight away, watch the movie. I really enjoyed it. I don't know if Mark did. I feel like he didn't enjoy it as much as me, but right now I'm going to say watch the movie because we're going to spoil it from there.
I'm also going to say watch the movie as well. It was if you're going in for a samurai film, maybe don't stay away for just a little bit but if you're going in for something that's a bit more in depth and really makes you think, then yes, go for this. But if you want samurai full on action, go for the other Lone Wolf and Cubs and stuff like that, because I was going in thinking that this was going to be a lot more samurai heavy, and it was fantastically well done. And basically, it shows you a time of the samurai period during 100 years of peace. So you're seeing. So it is very samurai-ish for that time period, but there was just not enough swords out.
Before we really spoil anything, the basic setup is a samurai turns up at this house. It's like this big palace. It's like the Palace of Ilya, I think it is. It's this Ronin. He's got no master anymore. And he basically wants to perform seppuku or harakiri. Harakiri is actually the more sort of violent way of saying it, if I remember correctly. That's just like stabbing and cutting instead of like the more sort of proper way of doing it. Okay. So he turns up and goes, "Look, I've got no master. I can't live like this anymore because there's no war. It's peacetime. Mm-hmm. Can I use your sort of honourable place to do seppuku?" The guy who runs the place, because the Lord's actually away at the time, he's called Saito, the fan guy who's always like, click. Yeah. He's like, well, great, but a couple of months back, a samurai said the exact same story as you, pretty much. So do you want to hear what happened to him before you decide to continue? Yeah.
The story goes that quite a lot of people, obviously samurais, after all the shogunates got disbanded or whatever, but there were loads and loads of Ronins. I think they said that's most like 14,000 Ronins just wandering around, and basically all of them looking for this honourable death. And so they've had quite a lot of people sort of going to various shrines and temples all around Japan, where they've basically been trying to like con them, because they're obviously these warriors that needed money. So instead of them like committing suicide, the people are sort of saying, you should take this money and stuff. So basically people are taking advantage and pretending to be samurai, going to these temples, pretending to be these like old school warriors. I think but then they're actually just taking all the money for themselves. So basically these guys try and develop this sort of plot to get this guy and stop him in his tracks and sort of say, are you actually... You're actually...
but I think it's also a lot of them are samurais where basically they have no masters, and a lot of from... Obviously, you've watched that samurai show. I've not watched recent history, but I know a lot of samurais didn't... When they suddenly had no masters, they didn't want to do standard work. They didn't want to just become labourers or anything because they had their sort of code or whatever. And I think some of them are samurai where they're turning up and going, I want to do seppuku.
A lot of them are samurai. But they were just saying that some people in the distance, they've heard of people coming in and taking advantage. Yeah, it's a racket, basically.
But they think that they're going to try and do seppuku, and the masters are going to go, the masters of these other palaces are going to go, what an honourable person, we could use them. Because that's what he wanted. He was getting a job in the army. The first guy, he went,
he wanted to...
He didn't just want money. He wanted
to take the money for the thing because he knew that was his final option. It wasn't honourable, but that's what he wanted to do. So he wanted to get the money because he'd heard of people doing this previously.
No, but he gets offered a job in the army, remember, and then they go back on it. You've asked to do seppuku, we're actually going to go along what you said, and suddenly the guy's like panicking because he didn't really want to go through it. He wanted to have a job or money. Yeah. And they're like, no, you're going to do it. And he's like, give me a couple of days, give me a bit of respite, and he tries to escape. All the guys come out. It's like, we'll cut you like a fish. Just do it.
It's not very honourable death. Yeah. We'll give you the proper honourable death that you came and asked for.
But they're aware he's got a bamboo. He sold his sword, his blades.
Yeah, but they just think he's just a con man. Yeah, because they know that samurai would never do that unless it was that's literally their soul, the worst thing in the world. But okay, so at this point, this is when you're sort of like you're sort of listening to this story and you're sort of acting the same way as if someone's gone to like the self-service counter with a trolley with a footload of food, and they've just been told that they can't use that trolley and they can't do the self-service there, so they've been told to go back. Right, it's kind of like that. It's like that feeling that you get of like, you've been got out.
Well, I was thinking, this Weasley guy. This Weasley guy's trying to get.
You're sort of like, you're not a samurai. Why are you doing this? And straight away, you're sort of plunged into that world of feeling prejudice towards him. And you're sort of like, no, you're a dick. You fucking
he's
try
trying
and
to
cut
sneak
your own
past,
self with your bamboo sword.
And the house is also, they have this discussion while he's waiting where they're like, this is happening so much and it's going to look so, because they're so bothered about their face, like saving face basically, because their lord's away. It's like, what would happen if the lord found out that we're letting people take advantage of us? So that's what sort of tips the balance. Like, no, we're going to let him do it. So they basically force him to commit Harakiri, even though they're aware that he's got a bamboo sword, which you can imagine is pretty horrific.
It was quite bad as well, because there was a point when they were like, right, so what normally now, because Harakiri is so barbaric, now what you only have to do is reach for the sword.
You touched you touched the thing in the bucket. No, it's the thing. There's a thing in a bucket at the front, and you touch that, and you mean for the head to be cut off?
No, there's a sword there, and that's what you're saying. You said you reach for the sword, and then as soon as you reach, that's when you get your head cut off, because you're basically.
I thought it was the thing in the bucket.
It's like you're challenging them, and it's basically you accepting that you're going to go out like a fighter, reaching for your sword. And so that's when it wasn't like put your hand in the bucket.
No, I thought it was like a bucket
yourself.
with a stick on it. Also, I don't know why. I watched this. Like maybe 2 or 3 months ago, so I scanned through some of it last night, but I just didn't have much time. Yeah,
so they've got to put the hand on the sword, but then after he's like, that is the way we do Harakiri now. However, given that you are an honourable samurai, sort of like really rub it in, and everyone in the audience, me and like 3 other people, were all like,
"This is what you get."
Yeah, fuck you. This is what you get. And then, oh my god! And then basically, he has to stab himself
there's virtually
in the
no
chest.
blood or violence. It's horrible.
It's horrific.
It's really awful.
It's incredibly painful, and you just want it to be over as much.
I was
like
imagining
like
a school ruler,
like
primary school, and trying to cut. Because you have to do a cross.
Yeah, and you got to do a cross, and then down again. And he said that he won't do it until he's satisfied.
You won't chop the head, because what happens is when you do a cross, then your second chops your head off. But he literally forces him to do it, and the guy bites off his own tongue to pretend like he's gone deeper than he has.
Well,
which is because they mentioned it later on. It's so very honourable to do that.
Yeah,
it gives the impression that you've disemboweled yourself earlier than you have.
I feel like he bit off his tongue to make himself bleed out quicker.
Well, potentially, but they weren't happy with that.
They weren't happy with that. That wasn't part of the ceremony to them.
Hanshiro is the main the Ronin.
Yeah.
So it's Hanshiro, and Saito is the lord of the house at the moment, while the real lord's off on holiday, whatever the hell he's doing. You find out. So he gets told that story where basically this guy screwed himself. Are you still happy to go through with it? Yeah,
and so he's sort of like, you don't have to worry about that with me.
My sword's
he sort of like knocks it away, like
the guy's voice, and he's just maniacal.
Yes.
He's just
aside from his maniacal laughing, I'm just like, wait, is he doing something evil right now?
He's just got such a great voice. And
he does have a really good voice.
It's just really cool. But I also really love the Saito guy, the fan guy, because I think there's both. The Lord of the House, Saito.
I didn't really pick up on him being particularly like.
I really liked him. I just not so much cool, but just just the dynamic between them. I really liked.
Yeah, it was like weight counselor sort of shit. There was a lot of like,
they're trying to sort of say save face, keep it honourable, but at the same time, especially one of them's getting pissed off with the other one. It's like, so basically, he goes, right, I'm going to do Harakiri.
Well, I want this guy to be my second. I've heard he's a really, really good swordsman.
Yeah, so
to get the full passage into hell, I need my neck cut to be really, really clean.
Yeah, you don't want someone messing about. Yeah. So basically, he asked for 3 samurai, Yazaki, Kawabe, and Omadake, and each one he calls them. It's like, okay, I'll have this guy. Oh, he's ill today.
Yeah,
they're asking around.
He tells a little bit of the story.
Yeah, the first guy is like, can I have him? It's like, we'll send a messenger to his house. Exactly. He seemed fine yesterday, but then today he's not. It's a bit weird. So he's like, well, while we're sat here bored,
I'll tell you the story. And everyone, and then at this point, this is why it's so good, because at this point, the guy, the main chancellor or whatever they could call him, Saito. Yeah, he was like, everyone listens to this fine samurai story, because they were really thinking that he was going to be like telling this mint story. Anyway, they sort of tell the story. He tells the story,
but he goes. It's a great line, because that's write it down. He goes, look, I'm an old Ronin, and while we're sat here, it gets pretty tedious. Let me tell you about my life. Because what befalls others today may be your fate tomorrow. And then he asked the guy, Saito, everything you told me about that first samurai, is it correct? Is it all the truth?
Yeah.
And the guy goes, yes, he's always got this fan he's dicking around with. And he goes, right, well, I did know him. I know him quite well. And then I know it sounds, I've obviously just butchered that, but you kind of go, oh shit. Like,
dun. Turns out he's sort of like the son-in-law of the main character.
Yes, so he's from Hiroshima.
Yeah.
Now, I looked into this after in the trivia, but basically one of the lords repaired some of Hiroshima Castle in real life, and then he got like
he went over on
budget. Something like it was really bizarre, and then he got all his land taken off him or something terrible.
And he got told to commit Harakiri.
And then, so basically his lord kills himself, and then because Hanshiro, Hanshiro was high up, basically he has to kill himself, but one of his friends kills himself first and goes, right,
be like,
you look after my son.
The guide to...
so you can't kill yourself.
Yeah. Which is...
yes, you have to leave him to... Yeah. So basically he gets left a son, so he can't then commit Harakiri. So he's got no money.
And he was and he was told by the master not to do so either.
So he's basically got a new son. He's got a son and daughter now who are like 20 odd or something. And they then they have a little kid together.
Well,
and
they have a little kid together because the main guy...
Kingo's a little kid.
Yeah, King is a little kid. Because the main guy, the older samurai, goes to the younger one and sort of forces him in a weird way. Like he's really worried because basically they want to use his daughter to become a concubine.
Yes.
So basically they want to give I can't remember what the main guy's called.
Hanshiro.
They want to give Hanshiro like a really good samurai post because they're like, right, well, you can get back in with this lord if you give him his daughter.
Yes, I do remember
your daughter a concubine. So he's sort of like, no, I'm going to get her married off to someone who actually loves her because that's the least I can do for her. And the young samurai sort of begrudgingly says yes, even though he doesn't really feel like he's good enough or he can make enough money to really support the family. Anyway, so shit starts going wrong.
Then they're stuck making umbrellas, basically.
Yeah.
They have a little life in this little hovel.
It's
and
pretty brutal.
Yeah, and this is a little bit where I think I mentioned when I first watched the film. I said there's a bit in the middle where people are like having a bit of a rough time. And to me, this is the bit of the film, because it is quite a slow film, but this is the bit that dragged to me, because it's like, oh God, they're having a bad time. Yeah. And then it's quite a long time of, oh, they're really having a bad time. Yeah. It's like, no, I get it. And basically they're starving, their life's gone to shit, and the younger samurai basically goes off in the night.
Well, previously he'd sold his sword.
Yeah, so he sold his sword then he's got bamboo one, and he'd gone off to, he's like, I'm going to go for a job or whatever.
I've got an idea. Yeah. Because basically Kingo's dying, the mum's dying, everyone's dying, and he's just sort of like, right, last minute, what can I do? I've got an idea. It's not what I want to do, but I'm going to go and scam these people. He's basically seen as this con man.
Yeah, con man.
But he's not, and now you know that, and then you're sort of like all for him.
And the three samurai who the man Hanshiro has asked for, bring the body back. Yeah. And let's go, you go.
Yeah. That's brutal. Yeah, that
horrible.
Was real bad.
They're like, yeah, well, I'm sorry, he had a bamboo sword, and then I think he even asked. Did you make him use his bamboo sword? Like, yeah, it's the way. Like,
that was, and then he's sort of pretty fucking furious. Yeah. The wife sort of has a bit of a breakdown again.
There's another 25 minutes of pretty much the wife and the baby just dying.
Yeah, and the wife the daughter really not caring about the baby dying either. She's sort of like lost it.
And no one's banned umbrellas. Like the umbrella thing, it's just literally gone down the pan. He's like, right, I've told you my story. Mm-hmm. The messenger comes back, goes, look, the samurai's ill. He asks for some other samurai. They're all ill. And the Saito's like, look, someone else is gonna have to be your second. You have to do Harakiri right now. So he kind of he's like, no, I'm not doing it. He kind of gets up. Everyone points their guns, points the swords and pikes at him. And he's like, okay, well, 1 second. And he throws the top knots out. So he's collected these 3 top knots. And he goes, before I die, I just want to let you know this. And he's basically...
And he tells a story of each
one. Yeah. And I liked how they were kind of, not magical, but they're kind of like quite different worldly, especially the last fight where they're just, I don't know, the style and everything's a bit different. And the guy just running down the street going, ah! Yeah. But he basically kills the top... Well, sorry, no. He takes the top knots of the top 3 samurai of the Ilya clan. Yeah. And he's basically taking his revenge because he knows if he cut off a top knot, that's basically him cutting off someone's head. It's like, you fucked them. Yeah. Like, they have to kill themselves pretty much.
If they want to keep any of their honour.
Yeah.
It's a really cute cat.
So all these 3 samurai are obviously very ill, waiting for the top knots to grow back.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how long you're going to be waiting for, and how long you're going to be... So what's with that hat?
Yeah. It was very hot yesterday. When you were saying, like, why are they ill? It's like, it's just been...
it has been unusually hot. Yeah. This was my big problem, and this is where I sort of feel like the film could have been saved. I obviously, like I said previously, this wasn't really a samurai film to me. This was more of a film, a suspense drama set in samurai time.
Samurai code.
All that samurai code and the Bushido code and stuff like that, but it was just... But this is where I sort of feel like they could have just grabbed like each of those little fight scenes and sort of speckled them throughout the film, sort of so you sort of know something is coming in that way, and there is sort of fights just to sort of excite you a little bit.
The fights are very, very quick. Well, the last one,
last one lasts quite a bit longer. That one's actually a really beautiful shot, and that one when they're doing the fight, that was really cool.
We speak about a lot with anime where they over-explain stuff, but sometimes I kind of get it even in old films where the Last Samurai, this guy, he goes to the little hovel.
Yes.
He's like, it took me like 4 days to find you. And he's got his sword. He's like,
right,
I could probably cut you in two. And he goes, that top beam, I'll hit my sword.
Yeah,
and
no,
then
I
he goes,
that's
but it's like a German anime thing where it's like, oh my god, if I do this, this, and this, and this will happen. But it made me kind of laugh. It's like, And he's like, you should leave a note for your landlord. It's like, tell him you're going to fight me on top of this mountain or something. It was just really like bureaucratic. It's like, we need to make sure everything's in order.
Yeah, I did quite like that. I thought that was quite good. Well, because it is all about. It's like, I
loved it, but it makes me laugh. It's like, I won't even bother like unfolding my arms because I've already thought about that and I've thought about this.
But that hill shot and that whole scene, it was very
with the reeds and stuff. It's so cool.
That was very, very beautiful. But like I say, like that was my big thing that I really feel like the film would have been. If it was made nowadays, we couldn't have that and then have 20 minutes of action at the end. We'd have to sort of space it out and space the action out in a new way. And I feel like if it was going to get remade, that might be a way to do it.
Well, I think see each of the people get like maybe 10 years ago. There's the Japanese one.
Oh well, but you know what I mean, like
but I just like because I couldn't guess the whole film. I'm like, what's his end game?
Yeah,
and I thought the whole film. I'm thinking a bit 300 slightly. I thought he's going to throw his sword, kill Saito, the Lord guy, and just go, that's it, and then he'll get killed. I thought he's not leaving that square. I thought that's it.
Yeah.
So once they found out that he's basically got, beaten these three samurai, he's worthless now. He's got nothing. He's got no cards left. He's basically, look, you guys are trying to uphold the code, but you're doing it the wrong way. You shouldn't force someone. You can't like read a man's heart. Like he did that for a certain reason. You forced him to kill himself in such a horrible way, just for face of and it's just fucking stupid. And half of me thought some of his retainers, you got all the retainer guys around it. Some of them must be thinking, actually, knobheads. Like, what the fuck were we doing that for?
Yeah.
But I just love how Henshiro's right. I'm just gonna fuck you up. But he's proper old and scraggly, but he's just got such fucking power to him. And basically, then a big fight ensues.
Yes.
Where he kills. I wrote this down. He kills 4 samurai, wounds 8.
Yeah.
And then, he basically, there's a long fight scene. I'll throw some little bits up. I really enjoyed it because it's quite a scramble. He's constantly
quite a scramble.
Falling between, he rolls into a room and all these sword guys are doing some practice, hey, what are you doing there?
Yeah, no, it was, it was quite scrambly, and I quite enjoyed his transitions from courtyard to decking and stuff like that, and I thought that was really smart.
Oh, and he gets the sword master through the head, and then he gets on the seal of the
and he gets
clan.
Thrown at
he's up on that big thing on the wall where he's going Wah!
But I will say this, compared to other things, it didn't live up. You know what I mean? We've watched when you say 4 samurai died and 8 were wounded, you're like, right, well that's just a 5 seconds of a scene, and I quite enjoy
the other day,
and the kill count there is like a million, so you I kind of wanted to just see, because straight away it sort of seemed very thing.
It's like,
and I wanted to see just a little bit.
Well, I'm sure it is choreographed, but it's so
it's well choreographed, but each hit didn't really feel like a hit. It sort of felt like a hitting of swords and just, you know what I mean?
It's just get away,
And I completely get that this is a very, very old film, so obviously choreography has just got a million times better nowadays. But I just was a little bit disappointed in that final fight scene.
And they use real swords in this one.
Oh, what, full-on real swords, sharp swords? Oh, wow, okay, that's very cool. But so even more reason to not have those super stupidly big hits and all the jumping away, which I thought was really cool anyway. But I just wish that final scene he'd have had a bit more of a run, got a bit more injured later, then had a bit more stumbling round.
Yeah, well he gets his leg got, and then he does but
then finally when he doesn't kill the main guy, I was like, okay, well that's kind of good in a weird way, because I kind of wanted. I assumed that he'd written a letter. And he'd taken that guy's advice and written a letter all about all the people that he'd killed. Because at the end, the other guy, the main person after everything's done...
No, they wipe him from history.
I know they wipe him from history, but I feel like he's got his own little plan, his own little letter to his landlord or whatever, or to anybody, discrediting the Illy clan.
Hanshiro, the main guy.
Yes.
Sorry, I thought you meant...
So they sort of write him out history later, but I feel like he's got his own plan because he has destroyed those people and he's beaten them, and they're all pretending like they got really ill and they just died.
Yeah, so basically he kills all these people and basically he ends up in the room with the armor, which at the start of because throughout the film it shows his armor is like this god almost. Yes. It's like and he grabs it, and it's like this sort of like a dummy, and it kind of makes it look stupid. It's like, well, look, this is just this whole arm, you like praying to this fucking shit.
Yes.
It's not worth anything. I'm half dead, because he keep calling like this half dead, half starved Ronin. How has he managed to kill so many people? And he's just like, look at this, I'm dancing with this stupid thing, because he just shows it's all all of it is face. It's like it's not worth anything. It's how you live your life. So basically, he's got the armor, and then they kind of cheat where they just turn up 3 guys with those matchlock guns, matchlock rifles, and then he does Harakiri. He does it on himself, and then gets shot. And then it cuts to the Saito basically going, fill in the diary, and essentially going,
sort of saying, because
those 3 samurai have to kill themselves now. Tell them to do Harakiri
go
now. We're going to say they're all ill.
Yeah.
Tell them that the samurai did just do Harakiri normally.
Everyone
there was no
else
issues.
in here just doesn't fucking mention anything.
Yeah.
Everyone else in here got very ill. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just, and he deletes him from sort of history, and it shows that it made it all kind of like for nothing, but also you're like...
No, not for nothing. I chose to take it as like, I think he sort of did do that letter, and I think even like if they were pretending like they still had honor, he still destroyed their honor. Yeah, he still destroyed the clans or the
Saito
houses.
knows he's wrong.
Yes.
Even though at the end he's trying to write his own history. He knows that Hanshiro's won.
Yeah, definitely.
And so it was good, but it was kind of like, oh god, he's not. It was just, I don't know, kind of like bittersweet. But I really enjoyed it. Like, also the music. I know we didn't talk about it, but I thought the music and cinematography
I loved throughout. The start and the end was very good. Yeah. That gave way throughout the most of the film, throughout the middle. That I didn't hear any of the music. I didn't hear any of the tension, because it was mostly just dialogue. And a lot of like, repeat yourself. What was that you just said?
Yeah.
Oh, it was this. Oh, well, that doesn't change anything from 2 seconds ago when we finally started reading these things. And I thought it was fantastically well written. And I thought it was really, really good. But like, my big thing is just like, I just wish they'd have just been a bit more fighting throughout the start. We just saw just a little bit more. Yeah. I think because I was going into it thinking it was a samurai film.
I think, I suppose it's hard to describe. To me, it's more like a bit of a courtroom kind of drama. Where it's just it's a really sort of simple situation in a way. It's just someone knows someone else, but it's people just knowing things.
Have you ever seen 12 Angry Men?
Yes, I nearly said that. Yes,
I've never seen it.
It's very good.
I imagine this is quite similar.
It's just in a room. It's something where it's just people having conversations and people knowing stuff that other people
and people's opinions being changed and warped.
But it's also, I think, the fact that you don't see him fight until the end. You don't know. Because he's actually extremely skillful.
Yes.
And that's why the end...
Well, they always talk about him being very skillful.
No, you don't know, because you've got the guy keeps going, you've got the sword master of this, he's got the sword master of that. He's got all these retainers. The guy's just dripping in
you don't really know how good he's going to be.
And he's just this sort of old dog who's like fucked, basically. He's got nothing and he wants to die anyway because he wants to see his family. But no, I know it's a bit slow, but I started watching it. I quickly rewatched from it because I watched it 2 or 3 months ago, and I was sort of had to refresh myself. So I only got to watch about an hour last night. I was like, God, I really want to watch this whole film again. Yeah. To me, I'm going to be controversial to say it's my favourite samurai film I've watched so far. I've not watched loads.
See, I just wouldn't call it a samurai film, but yeah, I get your point. It's like, would you call a film that was just all about? I think
Lone Wolf and Cubs, like I said,
that is like a samurai film.
But at the same time,
a peacetime samurai film is probably the best way to describe it. But I just don't think it's. Yeah, I mean, samurai isn't all killing, so yeah, I think you are right. When you say it's a samurai film, it's just set in that Edo that period, but I just don't think it's that samurai. I mean, it has got that end scene, but it's like a film that was like, mostly drama, and then 10 minutes later, the last 20 minutes had a shootout, and then it's been like, oh, that was an action film. It's like, I don't think it was an action film.
Have you seen Unforgiven?
No.
I'm not going to spoil it for you.
Okay.
But it reminded me, that's a very similar film where not a huge amount happens, and the last sort of scene is very quick.
Right.
And you've heard about someone who's very good at sort of gunfighting, and you're like, oh, that was it. But it's like, everything's built up to it.
Yeah.
You just shot an unarmed man.
Well, he should have harmed himself.
And you're like, fucking hell, that was worth it. Yeah. I know no one's doing backflips or spinning guns or being revolver ocelot.
I have to say, though, the one thing with this film is I haven't been, challenged mentally. I mean, that sounds really, really funny.
Because I'm so
intelligent. No, but I haven't had my sort of, opinions completely changed and just flipped like this film. Because I was feeling really, I don't know about you, but I was like, I feel really bad for, at the start, being so prejudging this person. Yeah, from the context of what you were given and what everything people told you is like, oh, he's a grifter, and you're like, oh, he's a grifter. Yeah. But you're sort of you're really loving this guy having to cut his stomach open with a thingy, you're hating it at the same time, but sort of that's what you deserve. And then the complete flip and reverse by the end of it. And I thought, I've not had that from any other film before for such a long, long, long time. So I was really, really into that. Yeah. I thought that was fantastic from it, and it was a masterpiece of that. But I just wouldn't call it a samurai film.
it's living by a code, and actually when you should really, it's like
it's like if you
obeying the law to it, but when is it wrong?
Yeah.
When is it actually?
No, it is that. It's basically like if someone's stealing a loaf of bread to feed the family, when is it the wrong thing to do? You know? You could just do it from someone goes to a grocery shop, tries to steal his stuff, and then a shootout happens, and he gets murdered. And the whole time you're like, yeah, fuck you should get murdered, you're a robbing bastard. But then it turns out actually he's just taking some bread.
Yeah, and having, let's say, saving face isn't, what's it really worth in the end? It's like,
because
everyone there was just, well, we have to make sure that the Lord can't even know about this. Because we've embarrassed ourselves, essentially.
But that, I think you're very right. What's your final score then?
I'm going to say 9.4.
What, Jesus? 9.4?
Do you know what?
So that's an imperfect film, so you don't think any of it was slow in any way? I'm sorry, I'm just...
I'm saying the bit with we're having a really rough time here, that is the slow bit.
That's the 0.6 bit. So aside from that bit, it's perfect.
I absolutely love it. Yeah, aside from the bits where it's not perfect.
Aside from that very, very slow... Really? Oh, wow, okay.
It really
you make me feel really bad because I'm just going to... I'm going to say like a 4 or 2. No, I'm going to happily say 6.5. Because I think it was a very, very, very good film. I just was through the whole thing. I was like, come on.
That's the thing. I liked that it wasn't instant gratification. It was just like they give me little breadcrumbs of stuff. Like what's this?
Yeah,
and I couldn't go.
Breadcrumbs could have just been a little bit closer together.
Yeah. Like I said, there's probably half around the middle where I was like, even the stuff where it just shows him like when he adopts the kid and whatever. It was still like, well, you can speed this up a little bit.
Yeah.
But it was just the dynamic of Saito and Hanshiro and how it was just the back and forth between the two of them. And how the guy in the middle really had the most power by the end, even though he got killed and shot. I think everyone realised he was a fucking badass. By the end, everyone in that castle knew he won.
He had done. Yeah, he had.
And he'd been a samurai.
He'd done
the samurai thing. And
I'm really not denying that. I just freaking hell 9.4. Jesus, that's a real high one.
Yeah.
So right, okay. So I said, what did I say? 6.4.
I think that is my highest thing.
That's so you put it above Empire Strikes Back and everything.
It really. Yeah.
My face. Right, so what is that? 6.4 and 9.4. So that's I don't know. Should we just go for 8.4? It might meet in the middle. No, it's not. Okay,
I'll do the maths on the thing.
We'll do the maths. It'll be here. The number will be here.
7.9. Also, it's by.
This is 7.9. Sorry, yeah. We'll just quickly do that big loudly.
Yeah, 7.9. Also, sorry, it's by Masaki Kobayashi. Right. Thank you
very much for watching.
Goodbye. Bye-bye.